So prompt engineering is one of the most important topics when it comes to generative AI. How to make AI do certain things. Sometimes asking it directly will give you the response you want. Sometimes you have to do a bit more to get the best answer out of a generative AI chatbot like Gemini 2.5 Pro. There are different strategies and tactics and best practices available for prompt engineering. So we are going to look at the overview of prompt engineering. It is no way a complete guide for prompt engineering. It is a training by its own, doing practical things and different models, etc. But this will give you a good introduction, and mostly in the context of Google AI services. So techniques to improve generative AI model output. So these are nothing but tricks and tips to ask questions to the model. Completely, the context is a large language model like Gemini or ChatGPT. These techniques are universally applicable to almost all the generative AI models. There are specific courses available for prompting techniques and prompting engineering or prompt engineering techniques. Let's go one by one, which is there in the document. Zero shot, which means that we simply ask a question to the large language model. This is the type of prompt which we use by default. Who is the President of United States? Who is the Prime Minister of India or Australia? Simple questions like that. Write me a poem. Write me a story. All these are zero-shot prompting, and this is what we use in our daily life. 99% of the cases, this is what we use when we talk to ChatGPT or Gemini or any other large language models. One shot, providing the model with one example to learn from. So we are giving an example to the model to learn from. This is the kind of output I need. Don't give me anything else. So we are restricting the nature of the output by giving an example. So I'm asking a question, you have to answer in this particular way. One question and one answer we are giving as example. Like that, we can give multiple different example. In this case, suppose you have multiple different types of answers possible. You can give all the types as example to the model within the context. Role. So in the system prompt, you can give the model that you are a support assistant. You are a storyteller. We can tell the model to behave in that particular role, giving a persona to the model with the style, tone, and focus, so that the model will start giving such answers. Colloquial, formal, educational, a lot of different persona it can assume, and it can change the responses according to that. Prompt chaining, it's a common technique chatbots are using. Remember, the model cannot remember anything outside the context. The context window is everything when it comes to transformer-based models like ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud or anything else. They cannot remember anything outside the context window. Very, very important point to notice. So how do these chatbots remember the previous chats? That's because prompt chaining. We are giving the previous chat history to the model every time when we talk to it within the context window. Otherwise, the model is highly idempotent. It doesn't remember anything outside the context window. So engaging in back and forth conversation with the AI, this means that we are giving the history or the summary of the previous conversation to the AI so that AI will have the context, the information within the context window. Now let's see some example of these type of prompt, at least some of them. Give me an example of zero-shot prompt. So this itself is a zero-shot prompt, and we are not giving any example. It is clearly saying what it means, and this is the response based on existing knowledge. Now let's see the example of a one-shot prompt. As you can see, there are examples given. This film was a masterpiece, so the response is positive. So basically, we are giving a classification problem to the LLM based on the review. So the idea here is that we are giving a text and followed by a sentiment, which is the classification. We are giving a single example, and based on the pattern, we get the response. Next is the role, which I'm considering as an example. So this is the prompt I have given. So we are giving the persona to the model. You are a seasoned history professor specializing in Roman Empire. That's a persona the model is going to assume. This is part of the prompt. This is the first statement in the prompt. and explain the course of its decline in a concise yet engaging, suitable manner, like a lecture. So role we are giving, style and tone, focus, all needed information. Let's see the prompt and response. I'm giving that prompt to the LLM. As you can see, it is telling good morning and all kind of lecture kind of stuff. Came up with a very elaborate reasoning and details. Prompt chain is a little more harder to demonstrate like this without code. It makes sense to see the effect of prompt chaining inside code. Let's start a new chat. So my prompt is give an example of prompt chaining. So it's like a conversation at the end of the day. To understand the real effect of it, we need code. But at the end of the day, you start with a conversation, AI give a response, then you respond back. The idea here is that in the context, when we ask this question, we are giving this along with it, or the summary of this part of the conversation, so that when you ask a connected question, it'll know what we are asking about or the context. Otherwise, in a new conversation, AI cannot remember this part of the conversation because it's outside the context window of the large language model. Very important point. Like that, the conversation continues. These days, LLM has pretty big context window, like 1 MB, 500K, etc. So it's not a problem, but when the conversation get too big, that's a problem. A reasoning loop prompt engineering techniques. So React, this is mostly used in the case of tools. Instead of we are asking the model the answer, we are kind of asking the model which tool you can use. Here are the list of tools, which one you would use. Again, chain of thought reasoning. It is similar to React. Instead of asking the answer, we are asking to reason step by step. Probably the React prompting technique needs a bit more consideration. So let's get into the blackboard. The details of this particular prompting technique is considered outside the scope of this particular certification, but still it's an important topic, so I'm getting into it. So React or reason and act, mostly in the case of agentic or tool use. That's the context of this kind of prompting technique. The idea here is that you're asking the LLM. So this is the LLM. So you're asking a question. What's the weather? What's the weather in New York now? So this is a question it cannot answer with its training data because the training data doesn't contain the information about the current weather in New York at any point in time. So the idea here is that instead of answering this particular question, you're asking, these are the tools available. Get weather. You're giving a list of tools. Get weather. These are the tools available. Get weather. Get time. Get temperature. So these are the tools available for you to use. Out of which tool you will use? That's a question you're asking. Very simple question. You're not asking the weather. You're asking which tool you will use. And the model ideally should respond with get weather. And then what we are going to do, we are going to prompt it again with the response from get weather. This is the output, the get weather API or tool, whatever it is, which is available to the caller. And then along with that output, it answers the final question, which is what is the weather in New York right now? Say it is 32 degrees Celsius or whatever it is, which is returned by this particular tool. So this is the action here and the reasoning for the question, as well as the reasoning here based on the input which is given by the action. The action has a result and the final output is based on the information which is given by this particular tool right here. It could be an API, it could be a command or any other tool which gives the information. There are a lot of this kind of working example with the code. We are doing it in the AI102 training. If you want, feel free to enroll to that training to get into the details. So that is a React. Chain of thought is more straightforward and simple. We are asking, again, not the answer. Give me the step-by-step argument or reasoning for a question. Again, I'm taking a new chat. Explain in step-by-step reasoning. How old is Donald? So here it is not the age of the Trump matters more, but it is the step-by-step reasoning. So the answer is right here. I don't know whether it's true or not. Knows about the date. So it is calculating based on that. Looks like it has all kind of tool access. I don't think the prompt really did what it is supposed to do because the AI is too powerful for this kind of prompt. That's another thing I would like to mention here. These days, this kind of prompts are not really needed because AI is much smarter. So these kind of techniques were needed for old generation models. These days, models does these things internally. So you don't have to explicitly do these kind of things. I'm pretty sure it employed all these techniques right now while answering this question. Tool used to get the date and all kind of internal calculations. Meta prompting still a very powerful technique. Even I use it today. Instead of you asking a complicated question to the model, you're asking the prompt. Give me a prompt to develop a hotel management system. So let's try that. Give me a spec of a software which does hotel management. I want to use that to prompt an LLM to create the software. So here we are asking it to give the prompt for a particular piece of thing. We are not asking it to create the software itself, but we are asking to create the spec or a prompt, which is a very powerful technique, and it'll give a prompt and a spec, and based on that, as you can see, it's very detailed, and we can use that in Canvas for subsequent uses. The Canvas is opened. The spec is a document. We can save this document. And of course, the main thing here is that we can edit this document. Some of the choices it has done, Tailwind CSS, React, front end, what is a back end. So all that kind of things we can change according to our likes and dislikes. Also, we can edit this, subtract anything which we don't like, all that kind of things we can do, and further prompt to create the code to the same LLM or a different LLM which you think better in coding. So that is meta prompting to get prompt. So that is very powerful technique. Streamlining prompt workflows. So prompt is like code these days. A good prompt should be reused and changed parameter. Saving prompt as templates. For example, if you got a very good prompt and very good response from a particular model, better you save it and reuse that prompt by changing some of the parameters within the prompt. For example, what is the capital of France? That prompt you can use it for any country, India, Australia, US, doesn't matter. So you can save that prompt if you need, or a complicated prompt to get the right result. So this we have discussed prompt chaining. It's coming here, prompt chaining. The idea here is to keep the conversation in the context. We'll talk about context when we discuss a RAG. It's a very important topic. We'll get a little bit detail into the retrieval augmented generation. So some of the cases we can cache the context caching, save info in Gemini. It'll save some of the token cost and things like that by context caching. But at the end of the day, the model still have the context window, and we have to restrict ourselves within that window, even if it is saved context. Gems behaves like personalized AI assistants. They are like small application with specific prompts and persona for that matter. Build custom experts with gems, basically changing the AI a little bit and act it like a companion to your child or a professor or a teacher so that the AI will behave in that particular manner. Gems let you save highly detailed prompt because gems have a very detailed system prompt and it is specialized on certain tasks, repeatable tasks. It'll save you time and more effort in terms of prompting and getting things done. Upload your own files just like we do in Gemini to give more context. Personalize your experience. You can act like a particular person with the existing context we are giving to the model. So gems are nothing but existing model with more context about a specific scenario. That's all about it. So we have seen some of the techniques and tactics for prompt engineering or making AI do certain things in the way you want or much more than that. So like I mentioned, it is no way a complete guide to prompt engineering. There is way more techniques available. This is one of the things, or probably second most important topic when it comes to generative AI, prompt engineering after agents. So be mindful about it. And if you want, learn more about prompt engineering. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.